Good morning and welcome to PSJA Java Chat, your morning chat with your favorite PSJA ISD Instructional Technology Integration Specialist, where we discuss EdTech tools and trends with invited guests and, of course, our morning coffee.
Welcome to PSJA Java Chat Episode 4. In this episode, we talk with Cesario Perez, our January District Tech Innovator and teacher at Carman Elementary. Mr. Perez actively seeks innovative tools to enhance his teaching, showcasing a commitment to technology integration. His recent use of Brisk AI aids in lesson planning by generating engaging activities and offering real-time feedback, making learning more interactive and engaging.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Java Chat. Today we have with us Mr. Perez, one of our innovators of the month. So Mr. Perez and Valentin Guerra, my counterpart, and this wonderful job at PSJA. We're happy to be here. Let's kick things off, Mr. Perez, and can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What ignited your passion for technology and education, and how did it lead you to become a district innovator?
Well, I started I think it was 1980, 81. I went to a pretty I guess pretty rich high school. So the Apple II came out, Apple computers came out in 99, and we had a lab in 81. So I started on logos. Logos is like Apple language. It was like we were so impressed just making a line and oh, look at me, I can make a line, I can make a square, and like stuff you find on Revenge of the Nerds. That was that kind of language. It was like okay. And then as they later went on, I went to university. That was my first step in, and later on is I went to college and I went to the university, and I was a graduate student, well, a fellow at Princeton. That's when I first learned about Kermit. That's when they did the first steps in using the internet for communication. Well, and it's been around since the 60s, but the modern version of it was like in 86, I guess. And then I went to so that's when I started using a matter of the internet. And then I went to Brandeis. I have 2 graduate degrees. I went to Brandeis, and then Brandeis I was introduced to using the internet to it was all coders, of course, going into with graphics and sending out emails and stuff, and so little by little, and then of course by that time American Online came on, and then I started moving more and more into it. I started learning more, and by the time I was also I worked in nonprofits in LA, and I used a lot of business, a lot of Excels, and a lot of stuff that we use in the business world. And after that, I was sort of laid off, and I became a substitute teacher. And thinking it was like just supposed to be temporary, but I loved it, and I moved up from there. And I got into I came from California in 92, and then that's when I met I think Zeke Perez was in charge of computers around that time, and I used my background in business, and I would do some in-services for him. Well, I did like two teacher in-services here at PSJ on Excel and Word at the time. It was like like the early 90s. It was geared towards Paris, and I also did in service on scanners. It was like when scanner first started coming out, scanners in the classroom. Of course, people ignored me because it was like I think I told you last time, it was I had my session right before lunch, so everybody just walked out. And I was really kept low, and you learn as you go, and little things came in. As PSJ started using the internet more, I started, my feelers started going out, I started experimenting more. And then the whiteboard came out. That was a game changer, because I was able to easier use my skills that I've used all these years to integrate in the cloud. It was a lot easier. And then the thing that really changed everything was, we teach almost 40 years. It really changed everything was COVID. And COVID was like, it forced everybody to change their mindset. And that was one of the That was one of the things that changed the way I taught COVID, because it was stuff that I was already doing, but it made it easier. Like when I was doing like worksheets, I differentiate everything. I'd be like late up night with a razor and cutting scissors and cutting and gluing and copying. But when all that stuff came in, I was able to use a lot of resources that are available now, and the internet was that stronger because it forced everybody to change. And then another game changer, of course, was now the AI. I use AI for every subject. So that's where I am now. And I think the best thing about AI is I differentiate. It allows me to differentiate everything. So
Well, you took us through quite a few decades there
yeah,
of technology.
yeah.
So you do have an extensive background
yeah,
and interest.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm like, I was going through the decades with you through that. That was a lot of fun. Now, if you could describe your classroom as a, let's say, tech playground, what are some of the tools that will stand out or programs that will make it so special for you and your students?
I use a lot of like I use not special, but I use like the math programs that we have. I differentiate. I focus on the teacher side, specifically hitting what they need to work on, reading. But with the students, I use Google Slides a bit, and
Okay.
we do a lot of research. We don't play games with them, to be honest with you, but we do a lot of research in class. And I'll give them subjects on this, and they'll go to research. Google Slides is easier than Word, or because what's funner, and it's like it's easier to put things together. So that's one of my. I do use like other things, but that's my go-to because it makes the kids think. It makes them research. Everything that become better writers, and that's my. If you go to my classroom and you were to look around, that'd be one of the main tools that I use Nearpod, but not as much as because Google Slides is that's I guess you can bring anything in, videos, and it really helps the kids expand their mind and their thinking. So that would be one of my main things. You'll see my technology in like my class, but that's the main thing. That's the easiest to learn, and it has the most. It's very expanding. You could do anything, like I said.
Yeah. Google Slides is a very versatile tool. I love that you mentioned that you're able to get you can have them collaborate together. You can make them copy and for each student and then work on them. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I know sometimes like balancing the use of technology in the classroom can kind of be tricky with the students. How do you weave technology into your lesson plans to make learning magical and fun without it becoming a distraction for the students?
Well, you like I was saying, like you find that right now when we got the COVID, like people say that the fourth grade were the heart of the COVID. They hit them hardest because those kids didn't have pre-K at the time. Well, a lot of them go to pre-K, a lot of them go to kinder. The first grade they actually taught was what they were in was first grade. And all they learned was just put online. So you're seeing right now a lot of the scores are low, like because they use manipulatives, they don't know how to write. I mean, they still, of course they do, but like you see and that's what you see back now. That's one of the lots of impacts of COVID is like when in our school is the fourth grade. But what I do is I always integrate everything. We do internet work, but you'll also have hands-on. For example, I'll give them a worksheet, but the worksheet's tied into something kind of research on the internet. Or like what I do is, let's say, for example, Storyworks. Storyworks, it's a program that our school works with, and it reads stories to them. But what I do is I get the Storyworks and I break it up. I'll use Brisk and I'll break it up in four different levels. Each level has their own component to it, and then I'll go back and I'll redo it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's always does. I always put a writing aspect to it because the kids have to learn how to write. They have to learn how to spell. They have to learn how to work on their own. But then there's also like a 50-50. If you go,
balance.
it's a balance. If you go full throttle on one, the kids aren't going to know how to do the other. It's always a 50-50. So I always make sure that there's a writing component to it, or a mathematical component, or a hands-on component. Like we're doing math. What we'll do is I'll give them a question online, and and they figure it out, but they also gotta show me they're using manipulatives, how they can figure this out. So there's a 50-50.
Yeah,
I would
perfect.
think.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's not all technology and it's not all,
Yeah, because
hands-on. Finding the balance.
Yeah, another thing about math, our writing scores are somewhat low also last year because of the same situation. The kids, all they knew how to do was type. They didn't know how to use their imagination to write.
Thank you for sharing. That was very insightful. And like
Yeah.
David was saying, yeah, balance is important.
Yeah.
You did mention to us that you use AI. So how have you used it? Have you used it for differentiated instruction and your reading and your group rotations?
Yes. I'm sorry, what?
How do you do this? Just wanted to
Like
know.
for example, I use it big time. Well, in everything AI. Like for example, like a science, they'll give me a science component, and like I don't like the way that it's very minimal. I gotta do a lot of, you gotta go to the bracket book or to the book, look at pages, and what I do is I'll get that, and I'll put the objective, and then like program like Chalky will break everything down for me. What is the objective? What is vocabulary? We're gonna ask the questions. It does everything for me. It brings in YouTube questions, and for example, I'll do like Chalky a lot. But when I integrate, let's see, my reading was what I do is I'll go on and look at the data from TPRI, where are the kids at, and then from there I'll use Brisk or Chalky to make up questions or make up. It's more like a TPR already I had that built in, but it's not very visual. And Chalky and Brisk will make things visual for them. Because I look, a lot of my kids are tier 2 kids, and they need that visualization.
Yeah.
They need, and then I also go back and I say I'll look at one topic, one story, and I'll go to Chalky and I'll tell Chalky or ChatGPT, can you break this up into 4 different DOK levels? So everybody's doing the same question, the same theme, but at their own level, So I think every child deserves a chance to work with their own level, and they don't feel left out, and they feel part of the class, and they feel part of the team. So that's how I do it. And then I go and I have my rotations, and every rotation, they have basically almost the same reading material, but at different levels. Except, and then I have like 4 different groups. My first group is the tier 2 group, sort of basic, really, really low. Then my second, it goes up, and my house is a tier 4. I mean, my group 4, which is tier 2, they're like the D's and TPRI is the highest you could get, kind of thing. And I do a lot of open-ended questions with them, and I do a lot of projects with them on their own, either doing research or writing their own books, or doing their own plays, or it's more independent. But like the lower, everybody's going to do something with computer or using AI, just different levels, and you want the child to feel comfortable where they're at. Because in order for a child to learn, he's going to have to. You don't wish a child. You have to work where he's at, or he or she is at, and build them up from there. Beginning of the year, I had a lot of tier 2 kids. Maybe I have, out of 23, I had 5 that were tier 1s, and then by the end of the year, I usually have maybe 22. Because it's all data driven. I go back and I pinpoint exactly what my kids' needs are, what their interests are, how could I go and meet their needs, what do I need to do. I don't go and waste my time on worksheets that aren't needed. What's the point? I'm very laser focused at how I do my data and what I teach my kids. It's all about data. It
Yeah.
sounds sort of boring, but you need it, and like I said, you convert it. It's all about conversion, going back and forth.
Well, and it's pretty amazing that you can use AI now to do
Oh
all that
yeah,
differentiation
yeah,
where
and
they're
what a
working
year
on the
makes.
same
Yeah,
projects, similar, but at their level.
exactly, and exactly. Like it's well, a year. What a year ago before Magic School came on, it's like I didn't know it was. It was. But then a lot of stuff I learned on my own. It's just exploring. It's so new. There's no real experts. I may call myself an expert. But you don't really know everything because you could have one person doing one thing and go and have a different take on it. Like me, like my background is a lot of hands-on stuff, and I'll just go this way. And some person experience is maybe more mathematical. They go this way. It's amazing. I was saying it's a shame that I'm in my 60s already, and I was like, I wish I could. People cry about, I want to retire soon. I'm like, I wish I'd have to retire soon, but because AI is amazing. I mean,
Like,
as a teacher, you don't know how to stress, but oh my God, what these teachers are going to learn. Oh my God, I envy them. I envy them, and I'm going to try to work as much as I can because AI is amazing. It's going to change. It's already changing the way we think. But I think we you just can't be fearful of it. You got to keep an open mind.
right. And it's always changing. And just like you said,
Exactly.
open mind and
And no one's an
go
expert.
with the flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one's an expert.
You've been talking to us a lot about your experiences throughout the decades. So I know that you're going to have a little bit of experience on that too. Like when you introduce new technology for your students throughout the years, I'm sure it's feel like a roller coaster, challenges encountered, and
Uh,
you everything. It might be chaotic or not, but now I'm sure you have really good tools on your tool belt on what strategies have helped you navigate when you introduce new technologies.
yeah, all of, I've never taught as to be honest with you, I've never taught one lesson twice. I know people, teachers will have lesson plans and they Xerox them and it's same one over. I've never done that because I always start where my kids are and I
Mhm.
see what they could handle
Mhm.
and what their needs are, what their growth are, and I start from there. I've never taught one lesson the same lesson to the same kid, I mean to different kids twice. It always starts at the beginning, and I say, okay, what tool could help this kid? What does he need? Does he need more uh, physical response? Does he need more uh, higher order thinking? What do whatever a tool I use, Brisk, ChatGPT, Chalky. I always start where the kid's at, and I build up from there. What do I need to do to help him fulfill his fullest potential? So, like I said, it's sort of hard to answer because there's so much tools out there, and there's so much things that I do. But like I said, everything that I do starts with the kids, where their needs are, and I will go from there. Like last year's kids, they were at the beginning of the year, they were lower than these kids, but they had a different, they were more, what you said, they were more ready to learn. These kids are sort of hesitant and they're not as open-minded as the other ones. So it's a little harder. But like I said, I mean, it is you always got to find an opening what works for these kids. And for example, this class I use a lot of videos. I use a lot of graphics. I use a lot of I read, you read. A lot of teacher centered. And before, my curriculum was more like too student centered, because the kids in the past like were some were higher. They are just more ready. And like I said, I have to go and adjust on my curriculum around the kids, not around me, not around the curriculum. Like I was talking to before we went on the air, I was saying that I just had an interview with Eureka, and
Mhm.
Eureka asked me, it was they wanted me to be on her think tank for technology. I'm already think tank uh, for the regular program. I think the Blue Line or something. And then
Mhm.
they asked me what I thought. They started somewhere, and then I go, realistically, I mean, I don't do that, and I'm out there can be excuse me, angry. And then I go, this is what I do. And then I show them that I bring in their information, and then I combine it with AI, and I use their information to work with my tier one kids. But then when they're done, I put them aside. Or not put them aside, but I have to do independent work. And then I get my tier two kids, or the kids are struggling, and that's when the AI comes in. That's when I put the videos on. That's when I put the more the hands-on things, the graphics. I I don't know if they're happy or happy. If they call me again, then I know they're happy. But I think they're surprised because I didn't go the route that they assumed I was going to go to. It was all books, and I'm like, I don't understand what you're trying to. Which to me was very foreign because I'm not linear thinking. I told them I have I use what I got and I make the most of it. I mean, to fit my child's needs. And if I'm not following the curriculum, as long as the objectives are okay, as long as I'm doing the objectives, as long as my kids score high at the end of the year, that's all that matters. I know people in the past, I've had issues with principals that, because I've never been a linear thinker, and there's sort of issues with that. But because I instead of teaching out of the book, I teach out of the objectives. I use my data and I use that information to do what I follow the curriculum, but I don't follow it linearly. I get everything I have. I look at my kids, what their needs are, what's the best way to reach my objective, where do I want them at the end of the year? I want them tier one. At what level tier one? D. Look at the curriculum. Like I said, what am I going? I do whatever I have to do to meet their goals. I'll answer that question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and you're using technology to help you do that for your students, and success
yeah.
is the end goal, the student success.
Yeah.
So
big
how
time.
do you keep up with like everything that's changing and evolving with technology? Do you follow people on social media? Like, how do you keep up with the latest trends and
Oh, yeah,
tools that
well,
are out there?
nobody is, like I said, really, no one's an expert. I do a lot of Facebook, a lot of social media. I belong to several ChatGPT groups. I belong to a lot of educator AI groups, and those are the ones, they're reading around the spot, and most of them are, you put up some people that are, not that nice, but for the most part, if you go to educator Facebook groups, I got a lot of Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I learned more there than I would ever learned in a course. But
Perfect.
that's
Those
why
are great
it's social media.
places.
It's like I said,
Yeah,
everything is cutting edge. Everything is cutting edge. They'll give the name. It was when I ask him, what's the best way of doing this or that, or it's social media. I don't and like it's just you really can't. Everything's so changing. If someone wants to write a textbook on it, it wouldn't be any good the following day. Because it's
Mhm.
just changing so fast.
I agree.
Yeah.
And sometimes the next, I'm like, what we're going to be talking about next, the next question. Sometimes
Yeah, exactly.
some educators might feel a little bit overwhelmed with technology, and they might be not wanting to try. What
Yeah.
could be some tips or something that you will share with them so they can incorporate technology into their teaching
Yeah.
more confidently?
Maybe it's my age where I really don't care as much in terms of if I get in trouble or not. But I always try new things. I always incorporate. They're like very rigid. Well, that's not the lesson plan. But I always thought, have an open mind of looking at things. I do that, and I have the issues right now. I mean, I'm the only one that like I get about free thinker, I get it. But I always start with simple programs. So maybe like Magic School. Magic School is very it's teacher centered, very simple, has very instructions on there, and it's very simple. Something very simple that you could relate to, and then move on. Like right now, what I'm doing it says I'm one of the pioneers at the Magic School. My my freebies ran out just like last week, so I'm getting Magic School information, and I'm using Brisk, and I'm combining them, and I'm still getting the same thing for free. So you will work for you, but like I said, to me, like I said, a good introduction would be a program like Magic School.
Yeah.
If it's right, it's free for a certain time limit, but then even like that, you'll get your feet wet. You might move on to like stuff that's free is like Brisk and ChatGPT. I like Brisk because what's more teacher centered, and ChatGPT, you got to be very precise in terms of what you want.
Agree.
And yeah.
Agree. So, are there any, we kind of touched on this, but are there any resources or professional development experiences that have really stood out to you that have helped with your tech innovation journey?
To be honest, like I said, no, not really, because everything I learned, it's hands-on that I've learned on my own. I mean, it's so new, there's no experts. I really can't go somewhere and say, I can't get into a conference and say, well, I know everything I know. Because I'll by that time I'll probably know more than presenter. I mean, it's all learn as you go. And like I said, the only big aha moment was COVID. COVID was the one that, in terms of technology, it changed everything for me. I mean, I have relatives that died, like 4 relatives, but I mean but in terms of technology, it was a game changer. It forced people to.
Yeah.
It did, definitely.
It opened a lot of doors. Like for me, it opened a lot of doors. It allowed me to do what I'm doing now. And if without COVID, I'd still be teaching out a textbook.
Yeah.
But like I mean, my big thing now is AI, and there's nothing out there that I couldn't do myself, that I couldn't learn on my own. And I mean, every day is an AI. I mean, every day is an eye opener because everything comes out. If it's not one thing, everything is changing so fast.
So like self-study and is important, teachers can get out there and
I know.
just learn.
Another one I forgot to mention is Google Class. They have a 2-hour session on AI, which is very informative too. It's free, and that would help teachers out. If you want something free right now, that one's for teachers. It's free, and it's a good program. It's 2 hours.
It's on the Google website.
It's on the Google Class website. A little banner. It says you can get certified or this and that, and and I always take advantage of the Google, even though I don't pay anymore. I don't, not free anymore, but I always take advantage of the Magic School courses. They have free courses too.
Nice.
I've read I got like 6 or these certifications. Yeah.
There's technology, like we said, happening right now with AI is happening all the time. Is there any trends or new technologies that are emerging that you're most excited about?
Like I said, I'm all about AI right now, like I said, and I'm just trying to find ways that right now my big thing is I'm trying to find a free program that I know Moat, but it's some problems with that, but I'm trying to get over with. But my big thing is trying to find a program that's going to be able to reach the kids in an easy manner. I know Google Documents does it for you, but something that it could work with easier with the kids. Or I'm also trying to find a spelling program that helps them spell easier. Does things like that. That's free, and that's my thing. Is I'm still trying to find out utilities to help my kids out to make their life easier. And like I said, there are some out there, but they're not free, or they're they're complicated for the kid to get into. So like I said, I'm always on the lookout for kid-friendly utilities.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm like, maybe even doing Google Forms, and if you do like Moat and record yourself saying the spelling words, and they have to type them, and then they have to type it correctly, you can do like a lock that if it doesn't type correctly, then it will allow you to make sure that they know how to spell it, and then you can guide them. But I know that would be good. Haven't heard anything about spelling. I've heard about fluency and allowing them to pronounce the words correctly with reading progress and read along with Google. But that would be good. Maybe we should invent it, Debbie.
I
become millionaires.
I used that program we were talking about last year with my kids, and it was pretty good. Well, these kids are little. I was sorry that actually kids at the other level, but they'll probably be on there never. Like I said, I'm more teacher-centered this year than last year, but last year I used that quite a bit. That introduced me to it. I used it quite a bit. Every morning we used it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, Mr. Perez, we thank you so much for all the insights today and taking us through all those decades of technology and where it started and where it's come. I love that. you've been interested in it for a lot of years, and we can see, why you were chosen as innovator. So we appreciate you being here, and thanks for all you do with your students.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for opportunity to share my information. And like I said, well, hopefully this eases the mind of other teachers to get more into AI and explore. At least have an open mind to it.
Open mind and try.
Because it's amazing. It's so amazing. And the kids are going to learn because everything is, I've been in classes where the teachers that's teaching these kids so far above their level, but like at the end of the year, they're like, oh. But AI allows for differentiation and things like that.
Perfect.
But give it a try. Give it a try. And I'm always here. Whoever want to ask me, I'm on PSJA. I'm a teacher. Just call me Cesario.Perez at PSJA.
Message him on Teams.
Yeah.
I'm on Teams. If they want to call me and maybe ask me questions. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I know this much, but I use it quite a bit. The little that I do use, because AI is so broad. But like
you're always learning. You're
always learning. You're always learning. But yeah, that's it. I'm inviting you to text me if they want to see it.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.